We've got Dr. Simone Alicia here on the podcast today. Welcome to The Calm Mom.
Yay! Thank you. I cannot wait to have this conversation with you.
I'm so pumped too. We were just chatting before we hit record and we're like, man, I think we could be here all day. I feel like talking about all this stuff. It's going to be good. Before we jump in, just let the listeners know a little bit about you, your family, your work, all the big things that you're doing. And then I'm just going to pick your brain.
Oh, I love it. All right. So I am Dr. Simone Alicia. I'm known as the Self-Esteem Doctor. My whole life I wanted a nickname and I never had one. I was born in Jamaica and I felt like everybody had a nickname: Peanut, Shotty, Screwdriver. I'm like, can I have a nickname? So after I decided to be the Self-Esteem Doctor, which is a story in and of itself, I nicknamed that nickname with the initials TSED, and I call it T-SED. So those who are really close to me will be like, T-SED, T-SED. And I'm like, yes, just like 4 decades, and I got a nickname. So that's me and my name. I have 2 children, Shaylee and Shane. They are currently 13 and 10. And they're homeschooled. So life is very together, and, we travel a lot and we make life as our school. Like, life is schooling and schooling is learning and living is learning. And so that's what we try to impart. My hubby, Sean, is like a magical person, unicorn. I don't know. Because every grand desire I have, he's on board. I'm like, I think I should stop working. Yeah. And I'm like, what? I think we should open this massive, yeah. And I'm like, I have this nudge. And he's like, you better listen. And I'm like, who are you? So with that, my hubby, my kids, and everyone supporting me and chanting T-SED in the background, yes. I built this beautiful, what I like to call and think of as an empire of self-love, built on just this innate sense of love within, a non-competitive love that starts from within and radiates out into the world. And that is, in a nutshell, me and the Self-Esteem Doctor. And I dream really big too. So like, excessively, like, what are you talking about big? Like, I can't tell you big.
Let's go. Visionary.
Yes. Literally, somebody yesterday was like, oh, I had a tip for you for your coaching. I'm like, oh, sure, I'll take it. However, that's not like the end goal. So if this is like lifelong coaching tip, like, I don't, and he's just like, what's your dream? I'm like, I can't tell you.
World domination.
All right. I'm like, don't tell anyone, Michelle.
Oh, that's so good. What a beautiful mission.
Thank you. Thank you. It's truly heart-centered.
Yeah. Okay, so I kind of want to start there with self-esteem and self-love, self-compassion, all of those things. Yes. I think there is, I would love to hear your thoughts. 1, I think a misconception around what that actually looks like and means. 2, I think there's such a tie to worthiness, I would assume, right? That a lot of women might think that feels self-indulgent, or that they don't have time for that. Right. Or that, like, if they're not so hard on themselves, the wheels are just going to fall off and they're going to lose all motivation and discipline. Yes. So can you speak to what you're talking about when you're talking about self-esteem and self-love? And then we can kind of take it from there.
Oh, I absolutely love that. First, I want to say that when I use these terms, self-esteem, self-love, self-worth, self-compassion, I do tend, and this is very individual of me, I tend to kind of use them all interchangeably. And I do know and respect that people will be like, well, self this is different than self that. And I'm like, totally, like, I'm totally cool. We will have that conversation on your terms when we're having that conversation. But for me at this moment, I tend to just weave them all into a very similar area. And when differentiation is needed, I'm happy to offer that and acknowledge it. So just for the purpose of this conversation, you'll know what I mean. I have come to understand and explore and teach self-esteem as being the way that we are thinking and feeling about ourselves. These are 2 major elements that I think that we haven't really given enough attention and love and light to, the power and value of both thought and feeling. I was looking into some of your work, Michelle, and I know you talk a lot about, like, it's not just all in your head. Like, yes, mindset, yes. However, there's more. And I couldn't agree with you more, because we tend to say, okay, just, think. And that's great. That, I think that has value. We can't really get around that. We can't, like, think terribly all day long and then have, like, the best life, right? So this is essential. And I stand by that. There is that other element of how we feel. And so throughout the course of my practice, I've realized, the way that we are thinking, and the way that we are feeling about ourselves, our lives, our potential, our capability, these end up being almost like the engine that pushes us through life or drives us through life. It's not really a push and a force. It's more like a driving and a gliding and a being. And it just feels lighter and easier.
Yeah.
And overall, I think that we're living in a different state when we get that thought and that feeling synchronized, right? As Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about it being in coherence.
Yes.
So when we get the thought and feeling synchronized, that sense of who we are, that sense of self-esteem, that self-worth, that compassion is turned way up.
Yes.
And then we are now in the realm of possibility and limitless potential and capability because we're living from a different space. So this not only opens the door for like, oh, how do I look? Am I beautiful? Do I feel sexy? I'm talking about also, can I get this job? Can I own this business? Can I, support my family? Can I show up emotionally for a child who is really needing me right now, or a husband, or myself? Do I have the courage to take a time out? Do I know when I need a break? Right? It's just on and on and on. So that's really, to me, this all-encompassing idea of self-esteem, simply put, is the way we are thinking and feeling about ourselves and our lives.
Yeah, that's so powerful. Tell me, were you like a kid who was always kind of confident? Like, did you grow up with high self-esteem, or did you have this moment where you're like, I gotta really like get a handle on this thing?
It's such a good question. I definitely think there was a little bit of everything mixed in, but for sure, I feel like this was kind of built into my calling. Like, how there's some people who they can draw, like they just really know how to draw. Like they didn't have to take an art class. They're just really good at drawing or really good at something, composing, playing piano. These things are just kind of innate. I think there was a big element of this world that was innate in me. But there were also obviously parts like where I was humaning also, right? And I was just like, well, I wish my feet were smaller, and I wish my, this, and I wish that. And I still had like, physical things that I'd want, or maybe I'm not going to do this, or, am I smart enough? Like, did I do good? Like how, but generally the overarching theme of my life, and it might be cultural also growing up in a Jamaican household, and Jamaicans tend to think that like, I just had a really Jamaican phrase to say that's not appropriate. So I was like, wait, how do I translate this? But it's like, we tend to think like, oh no, man, like we're like the best of the best. We're the cream of the crop. So while that takes it to another end that I don't teach directly, it may have filtered into my system and been part of that development where I just kind of innately saw the world a little differently. I found myself slipping into solution mode. As soon as I found the problem, I would slip into solution mode. So for example, growing up like around maybe 6th grade or 7th grade, I was like kind of the tallest kid. I was skinny. And so it was like, oh my God, you're so tall, you're so skinny, you're so lanky, like ha ha ha. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so tall, I'm so skinny, I'm so lanky. And then I'm like, okay, solution. Oh, I'll be a supermodel. Because like, okay, now I solved it. Like, that's how my brain works. Like, I just solve it. I find the problem. I cry about it for like 20 minutes. And then I'm like, so now how do we fix it? Because like, what's the point of this? And that's been like how I lived my life. Like, it's been really cool. And actually I was in the modeling industry. And can I tell you this story that I feel like solidified that this was like in me? Is that okay if I tell you?
Yeah, go. I love it.
So I did, in fact, go into the modeling industry because, like I said, solution-oriented and also action-oriented. So I'm like, let's do this, right? So I also had the naivete of just not understanding, like, modeling industry and body image and all that. Like, I just didn't. I was like, you're going to pay me to walk down this runway? All right, let's go. Like, I did not, like, my brain did not decide to process anything else. I wasn't like, whatever. Anyway, one of the last moments in the modeling world for me was a new agency that someone recommended for me. And so I went and stood in front of the lady. And I hope you guys are like watching this as well as listening, right? So this lady looks at me and she like sits back in her chair, and it's a full on television moment. Okay. So sits back and she like looks me up and down. You're pretty and everything, but you're entirely too big. You'd need to lose major weight. And she's pointing at my hips like this, like when you toss, like take out the garbage, like this
problem to be solved here.
Right. Right. So then I'm looking at her and I'm like, huh. And the story that came after, which I think traditionally would be like, oh my gosh, that traumatized me. Like I went on a crash diet. Like that did not even occur to my beautiful, naive brain that God gave me. My brain was like, oh no, I need these hips. Like I'm going to have babies and I need to get a man. Like I can't get rid of these hips. Like and that was it for me. I was like, okay, well then if I got hips now, that problem solving now, I need to go get me some babies because I
next.
That was not the immediate thing. That was a little bit of a joke, but
Oh,
I
that's
definitely was like, not, it didn't hit where I guess it was supposed to, quote
mm,
unquote, and traditionally. And I was like, or statistically, and I was just like, okay, let's just move on to something else. And I've
yeah.
never looked back or felt any way about that. It's just, I don't know. So then I had to investigate, well, what causes that? There's
Yes.
something, let's reverse engineer.
Yeah.
Yes, I believe in being born special. I believe in being born with, like, you're kind of, innately have this and innately have that, and you have gifts for sure. I'm there.
Yeah.
And I go, but those gifts are also reverse engineerable to see what,
Yeah.
how did I nurture this gift, this said gift?
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I built and started to look at, well, what is causing this and how can I teach this to people? And that's actually how I stumbled on neurolinguistic programming.
Wow. Okay, so let's talk about it because as you were sharing the story, I can relate so much. Not the supermodel part, but I'm like, I'm almost 6 feet tall, and it's the same thing. Like growing up, it's like it's so many stories associated with that. And I was, blessed and fortunate enough to also be raised in a family where, like, I was actually telling my parents this a few weeks ago. One of the greatest gifts that they gave me is like the whole time that I lived with them, I was convinced I could do anything, right? And they like
Yes.
never spoke against that. Nothing was crazy to them. Not in fact, when I like dreamed small, I was like, maybe I'll be, I don't know, whatever job I would say. My mom's like,
Right.
nah, girl, like you're gonna run that thing, like think
Yeah.
bigger, dream bigger. And it's such a gift, and I am so acutely aware that not everyone has that experience. So when you talk about NLP and you talk about reverse engineering this, I'd love to go there because I'm sure there are people listening that are like, wow, I was raised, with years and years of a critical voice speaking over me that I now hear every single day. That's become my own, or I'm noticing these patterns even with my own kids, right? And how I'm speaking over them. Or I wasn't taught to think highly of myself, or that was being, I want to brag, or, whatever stories we
Right.
have associated with all this. So tell us a little bit about NLP for people that this is the first time hearing about this. And then maybe what you might say as far as like that reverse engineering process for people who haven't, when they look back or they even still struggle with self-esteem. Because it's so
Such
much
a
bigger than just confidence.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm okay. I'm so excited. Now I'm like, okay, I want to tell you everything. So when it comes to NLP stands for neuro linguistic programming, and breaking those words down just to help us with understanding, like neuro is like your neurology, kind of think of like maybe the mind, linguistics is the language, and then of course programming. So we can kind of summarize it by saying the language of the mind, right? How we program
Yeah.
the language of the mind or use the language of the mind to program better behaviors.
Mm.
And so that's kind of a lot of words to say that once we start to understand that our brain is seeing in pictures, and when we are seeing those pictures in our mind, they do
Mm.
tend to affect how we feel and how we perform.
Yeah.
So the founders of NLP, and this is kind of where I found the bridge in my own life, the founders of NLP actually went back and looked at people who were largely successful, massively successful. And they asked themselves, or asked those people, what did you do? And what is your thinking behind what you do? So it wasn't just like, tell us the steps, like, oh, I went here, I studied here, I bought this, I sold that. It's, no, I literally was picturing myself as a
Mm. Yeah.
billionaire. I was picturing
Yeah.
myself, whatever, a very specific, clear example that might resonate even better is they went to someone who was really great at drawing. And they were like,
Mhm.
what is happening in your mind when you are drawing? Like, you're looking at the scene and you're drawing the scene. What's your brain doing? And because they want to use that, if they can figure out what the mind has done, that language the mind is speaking when it created that art, then you can duplicate that and teach it. So they found out that particular person said they imagine a string is connected from their pencil, excuse me, to the scene that they're looking at, and they're basically tracing it. And so you think of tracing, you're like, well, I can trace, right? It's like I can. So, but you have to actually now design, or as we say, program the mind
Yeah.
with that mindset, so that you now, when you go to draw, instead of thinking, man, I have to be an artist and I have to duplicate this, now you can create that string effect and start to trace and imagine the string is just pulling along that piece of art. And so now you're like, that's how you are a great artist. Now, many people didn't innately do that. So now if you can teach what's being innately done, now you can say, all right, everyone can have that language of the mind, and
Yeah.
therefore we can have consistent outcomes. So now when we take that over to, let's say, self-esteem, and we take that over to ourselves. If we can understand what is happening in the mind when that lady said to me, oh, you're entirely too big, you need to lose major weight, what happened in my mind that made me not react? Instead of me teaching other people like, oh girl, don't listen to that, like what the heck, like that's not helping me, like ignore her. I am playing that like a recording in my head 24/7. Ignore her is not good advice, I'm sorry. Like what? So when I get back in my mind, I'm like, well, what actually did I do? And I realized that it was almost like there was a brick wall that went up. She said it, like her words hit the brick wall. So on one side of the wall were her words sliding down like slime, right? Just like nope, rejected. And then on the other side of the brick wall where I was standing there safe and protected was this vision of how valuable my hips are in childbearing years, and how valuable and how good I feel in my clothes when my clothes fit, and how I finally found jeans from Express that fit my waist and my hips. So I just left the building and my brain was like, I was somewhere else. I did not take and accept those words, almost like open my heart, open my mind, bring those words in. The visual that I maintained was like just a complete and utter choice of somewhere else that I wanted to go, rather than to follow her words and find if they were true or assess her words. My brain did something different, and I had pictures involved, and I just started to go back and back in my life. And I'm like, I've been doing this for a long time. So yes, I'm still special because I believe we're all special. However, there's a strategy that was in place. I just wasn't consciously aware of it. And so now I know it, and I'm like, I'm teaching everybody, let's all do this.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to hear a little bit about the strategy. I know this is like your life's work, but for the people that are listening that are like, okay, this is so fascinating. Like, where do I start? I've been given really bad advice like that before, right? Where people have said like, oh, don't worry about it. She doesn't know what she's talking about. You know, you're better, whatever it is, like people tell us. And we've all continued to just run that loop in our minds. So for the people that are like, okay, I want to hear what she has to say, where do they start? Or what's like a little nugget that you can drop on us?
So for me, and again, first I want to state this, I think that there's just not a one size fits all for everyone. Yeah. I think sometimes we want like that one magic answer for the entire planet. And while I think there are several magic answers that will fit several groups, there's just not one for all. So keep that in mind as you try these things out, and know there are definitely more options you can use, and you're not like lost if you can't find, if this doesn't work for you. But what I feel for me is that understanding why something is and how it works for me is the magic formula. So when people just tell you the what, like stop thinking about it, like ignore it, forget about it, that's useless to me. But if you can tell me how and why it works, that combination now is like I can do a process and understand why it's going to work, how long it might take, or that I'm in the process. I can kind of take a step back and see it from the outside. So when it comes to like NLP and the pictures in the mind, what I understood was when I have this picture, right, and this is going to be where your starting point can be. Whatever the picture is that I'm holding in my mind, this is how my brain is representing. I have neurological connections, you know, all the neurons are connecting based on this. Like this is how I'm seeing the world. So imagine you put on those purple glasses and you're seeing everything purple. And now I want to see everything white, so I put on white glasses instead. Pardon me. So what I have understood is that when you are seeing those pictures in your mind, they do have an impact on how you feel. Now, you can also elevate your feelings a little separately. That's a little more advanced work. But just on the basic level, the pictures that I'm seeing do affect how I feel. So I'm now seeing, you know, tragedy and heartache. I feel terrible. I'm looking in my mind at this worst memory that's ever happened to me. I start crying, right? It has a visceral effect on the body. I feel badly, and I can start to feel stomach aches and tears and all that. So when I started to understand the why, which is that these pictures affect how I'm feeling, they affect the chemical flow of chemicals in my body. They affect if I slip into this fight or flight mode because I'm sending my brain like, we're in trouble, everyone hates us, we're fat, like you gotta work, right? And then my adrenals are like, go, like, you know, and I'm just panicking. And I realized, okay, there's a reason, there's a why here into why I want to shift these pictures. It's not just, oh, change the pictures in your head because it's a nice imaginary process that'll make you feel temporarily good. I don't like that. I don't want that. I don't want you to cheerlead. I like cheerleading, but I want more than that. And so for me, when you really absorb, okay, so there are pictures in my head. I understand this. And then what those pictures are sometimes will pop into my head without my control. Got it.
Yeah.
But I also then can kind of take control of that picture, and I can shift that picture to something more favorable, not to be fake, not to lie, not to pretend, but to make a choice that this is what I'd prefer to look at, because this is going to then affect the chemicals in my body. This is then going to get me, hopefully, slowly out of fight or flight. This is going to get me back into my heart space and my creative center. Now I'm going to have mental clarity. Now I'm going to make better decisions. And now I'm going to have the outcomes I want. So for me, it's like, I like all of that. So so what was the first one again? Change the pictures in your mind. Okay, how do I do that? I see a picture in my mind, it pops up, and here's a picture of me and a fat and the lady pointing at my hips. And you literally can do something as simple as, imagine it's a chalkboard, if you're back in the day and no chalkboards. If not, dry erase board will work fine. And you literally can imagine that picture coming up. And as you want to stare at it and you want to repeat it, give your brain something to do with that picture other than just staring at it and looking at it. Imagine taking out that eraser and just erasing it out of your brain. And then you're going to say to me, okay, so I saw this very real picture. I pretended to erase it and the picture came back. And then I'm going to say to you, erase it again and again and again and again, because now that sense of I'm getting to address this topic. Most of the time when we address a topic, we're just ruminating on it. We're just listening to her say it over and over. But if I can take charge and say, okay, brain, every time this picture comes up, I need you to get that eraser and erase it, or turn the volume down on her voice, or, like shift it out and, put captions that are saying something wonderful, like, but girl, you're so beautiful. Your hips are amazing, right? Like, and again, this is not for you to walk out into the streets and lie and be like, well, this lady told me I was gorgeous, right? This is not for you to, walk and parade. This is for you to shift this narrative that's going on inside of you that's about to negatively affect you. We don't want it to get into like long-term memory. We don't want it to get into like your psyche and really become a part of you. So you start rewriting it. When people say rewrite it, this is what we kind of mean. So you're going to bring up this memory, just interrupt it. Professionally speaking, we call it a pattern interrupt. I'm about to go down this road and relive this horrible memory, which is going to shoot negative chemicals, disrupt my cells, get me in a fight or flight, pump adrenaline, cortisol, gain weight, all the things that I don't want. So I'm going to interrupt when this memory pops up next. So here she is, and she's pointing at my hips, and I just erased it. And then I smiled. And then and I erased it, and I smiled. And I said, you had control over that moment, but I have control over this moment. And then I have fun erasing it, right? And so then your brain says, man, Simone seems to keep erasing this every time we bring it up. Let's stop bringing it up. It's a new program. And you're going to eventually stop thinking about it altogether. Or when you do, you're going to have a big eraser and chalkboard in your head and be like, I don't feel anything about that. I'm good.
Wow, it's so good. And then talk to me about the power of repetition and consistency, because you're talking about erasing it again, erasing it. I'm assuming the first time this comes up, it's probably going to be require the most effort, right, to erase it. And then subsequently, right, as we start working in these patterns of repetition, it'll become easier until it fades away.
Yes. Okay. So I want to make sure that I kind of say this so I remember to say that as I continue to explain. I want to talk here about the value of emotions in it, the feeling good of it, right? And not the like, okay, I'm faking and I'm trying. Like the intention behind it is really important. So I'm going to mix that in with a story. So when I first started learning about this, like way back in the day, where I was just like, wow, I didn't even know most of this stuff. Like, I don't know what's going on. It was a networking kind of thing. I met this lady. She took me to like this center. I guess, I don't know if she ran it or she worked there, but she took me to the center, and it was just this beautiful experience. It was like, there's meditation posters on the wall, and I'm like, what are those? Like chakras, like, wow, and then it's a present moment awareness, and you can center yourself. I'm like, oh my gosh, what are these tools? Like, I thought I stepped into like a heavenly portal on earth. I was like, I am not leaving. It was the most beautiful thing. So of course I credited the messenger. I was like, you are so amazing. Like, thank you for teaching me this. It was, I was floating. My feet were not on the ground. Well, at the end of that meeting, she says to me, well, we've got this workshop, and these are hard times back in the day. Like, talking about like $0 - $0, like negative upper dollars was like, oh, look, I'm rich. I got -10. Like, yes, I'm doing good. Right. Like back then. And she's like, well, we've got this workshop coming up, and it's this weekend, and it's only $400. And I'm like, while I do feel that it's worth probably double that, you telling me $400 right now, you might as well tell me to like try to break into like the biggest bank of the world and get you money. I don't know where to even start. I'm like, I'm so sorry, I'm going to miss this one, but I am going to literally start saving and try to make it to your next one. This is amazing. Her entire demeanor changed. It was like demonic. Like she went from like this like ethereal, like floaty angel to like her face went just dropped. And I was watching her affect was completely like, oh, well, I thought you understood this. And I was like,
Wow.
wait, what's happening? Like, I'm like, is this real? Because you were all floaty and I was floaty and now I'm like crashed down to the ground. And it was just such judgment and such I mean, in hindsight, I understand she just probably needed to make the sale. She probably just needed some money. Like I understand it had essentially nothing to do with me now, but at the time that stayed with me. And so to go to your question about repetition, I was now convinced to use her own tools against her, right? So I can remember standing over the sink and I am washing dishes and I'm like, well, I am going to focus on present moment awareness and I am going to focus on being positive and I am not thinking about this crazy. Okay, no, Simone, stop, calm down. Okay. So I'm like taking up dishes and I'm like, I am thankful. And of course we talk about gratitude. I'm like, I'm thankful for this dish and we ate ice cream and this is my baby's bottle. And like, we have babies and we're so blessed and she's crazy, even though I'm like, Simone, no, you're doing it again. And I'm like, okay. Like I kept on trying to be this positive thing. And I went back to just like absolutely like not understanding her and talking so much smack about her in my head while I was on this quote unquote positive journey. And it was tough. And I battled. And then I realized, okay, number one, I don't need to give up, but I do need to try another approach. I am filled with rage and trying to like pretend I'm not filled with rage, or I'm trying to drag myself over to like happy land. And later on in my studies, I look at something called the emotional scale or emotional ladder that Abraham Hicks talks about. And I started to look at them as an actual staircase. And I'm like, well, if I'm on like stair number like 0 and the lowest emotional levels here, I can't just leap up to like happiness and joy and love and appreciation for all, which is like on the 100th step up. I can't leap there. I'm going to have to climb. And that became part of my work, is understanding, okay, despite this impatience and despite you wanting to feel like an angel walking the earth, you need to walk up this ladder slowly. So you're going to have to go from like rage to like anger to disappointment to confusion to, you're going to just walk the ladder. And when I let myself do that, I found myself in joy and happiness and appreciation much faster. And then it was a really authentic trip. It was really me saying, why am I doing this? To prove that our tools work? To do it against her? Like, I'm going to use your tools against you? That's like absolute not love. Like, that's like, I'm like, you are absolutely raging right now. I'm like, I'm going to get back at you by being happy. Like, it did not work. So I definitely value repetition, but it's how you repeat and it's the intention behind the repetition. It is essential that you're repeating and doing this journey because you really just want to feel better, that you have identified where you want to go and you're going there, rather than just trying to do it because someone told you you have to repeat.
Right. I love that because we talk about, spiritual bypassing. We talk about toxic positivity, and there's no healing in that, right? It's like on the outside, on the periphery, you're trying, right? But man, you're bypassing so much of the work that needs to be done for it to be sustainable, for it to be authentic, for it to be true. So that's such a good reminder. I would love to hear a little bit about how we can foster healthy self-esteem in our kids. I think a lot of these are great, like especially the erasing or the mental pictures, like those are conversations I can picture myself having with my kids. But for those of us that haven't really, I think, intentionally approached how we're encouraging our kids to grow in healthy self-esteem, what are some important things to keep in mind?
I think one of the most, and sometimes this can be difficult for us, but the actual most important, I think, is how we model. How we model for them. And it can be like accidental stuff, like just, it doesn't have to be a full on sit down, I'm teaching you this lesson. It's in living our lives day to day, modeling that. As a matter of fact, NLP, one of the strategies we call is NLP modeling, which is figuring out what someone is doing and emulating it, which is how we talk about modeling in everyday life. And as a parent, we have to remember, which is the age old adage, right? They don't do as we say, they do as we do kind of thing. And we need to realize that they're constantly watching, and those little things that we say and the little comments that we make really get embedded in them. And so one of the first things, even if you feel like you have no skills or in self-esteem or coaching, and you have no knowledge of NLP and you have no knowledge, whatever, and you don't even feel so confident in yourself, I think that number one journey is for you to work on confidence with self. and self-esteem with yourself, and let your children see you working on that. And it can be very small ways. It can be you just reading a book that has a title that your kids will kind of be like, huh, okay, she's reading that. It can be younger kids who might not be able to read the title of your book, but will see that you're like, okay, mommy's feeling upset. Let me take a moment, right? Or it can be daddy putting on his belt and being like, I appreciate my body. I do want to be a little healthier, but I appreciate my body. And like, I'm happy that I can, still eat healthy today, and your healthy choices. And, oh, mommy has an interview today, and I'm really believing in myself, and I'm going to believe that I can do it. And you say your affirmations in the mirror. It's really you working on you out loud so that they can watch and observe. I do this with my daughter all the time. Like, I'll be in the bathroom getting ready, and she's in there watching me. She's 13 now, and we've been doing this forever. And sometimes I'm just minding my business, but I become aware she's in there. So I'm like, okay, let's kind of turn up a little bit. So I'll literally be like, okay, skin, look at you looking like you're not aging a bit. I'm so thankful. Look at you. What? You want some water? Okay, let's wash you off a little bit. Right? And I'm like talking to my skin, and I'm like, I appreciate you, because thank you for life and health. And I'm here, and I have a face. I got 2 eyes, my nose, my mouth. I can breathe. I can see. And like, I just kind of go into this little rampage of appreciation for myself. Even though maybe in my head, I'm like, where did this pimple come from? Darn, like, what's going on? Oh, like, I should not eat chocolate ever again. Like, what's happening to my face? Right. But and it's not that I'm going to ever hide that. Like, you may never say anything bad about yourself. It's not about pretending, but it's giving her a language of, you can look into this mirror and appreciate yourself, because the rest of the world will model looking to mirror and tearing yourself apart. So I don't need to add to that modeling to like, make sure you know real life. Oh, plenty of real life is out there for you, honey. I want you to see this other option. I want you to know there's an option to look and be pleased, or to find the things you're pleased with. And I'll say, yeah, I got this pimple, but you know what? It's only one, and the rest of my face is feeling good. So let's go. Right. It's demonstrating and modeling for them in different ways. Letting them see you journal. Like, sometimes my kids will say something, I'm like, I have to journal, you guys. I really need to get my mind clear. I'm feeling a little all over the place. I need 5 minutes to journal. And then I'll like lock myself in my room and journal, or they're in here with me journaling, or I'm going to meditate. Like, they don't need an announcement, but I want them to know that I'm working on me. And that's a really great way, rather than saying, how do I make them better? Even though you're like struggling and suffering, make yourself better and let them see you doing it. And that's one of the biggest ways.
That's so good. I love that. I love that. Especially the narrating part. I've noticed that I'll do that too. Even like stuff like that, I think it's so awesome. But even like, I want them to be aware of all the things I do for them, and not in a passive aggressive way, but I'll just be like, I'm making your dinner or whatever it is, because I'm so awareness.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Okay. So there's something that was coming to me when you were sharing all these, and these are such great tips to get started with our kids. I think so. Self-proclaimed like high achievers, people who have like tied their worth to, all these stupid degrees that I even have behind me on my wall. It's like, whatever, all the things that we do that make us feel really good. For ourselves and for our children. Talk to me about what it looks like to unravel our self-esteem and our self-worth from the things that we do or achieve or produce or whatever. Because I know there are a lot of women listening that are like, man, when I get through that, checklist and I'm super productive today, I feel really great about myself. But if I wake up and I'm having a bummer of a day, then the nasty self-talk starts coming out. And the goal for all of us, or at least I'll speak for myself, is to get to a place where like, I'm worthy regardless of what I produce, regardless of what kind of car I'm driving, the neighborhood I live in, like all of these things, we all are. But how do we actually buy that and believe it,
Oh God. Oh my gosh. Okay. So there again, many ways to answer this question. The one that resonates the most with me, and I suspect might resonate with a lot of you, is the spiritual element. I feel like this is where a very big spiritual part of life can open up, and that can look however it needs to look for you. I do not think that's a one size fits all either. That could be just divine power, a higher self, angels, guardians. It could be a god. It could be many gods, goddesses, mermaids, whatever it is you're into. Like, I'm totally fine. It's just, there's a spiritual element of an isness that is within us, a higher selfness that's within us. And just by that nature alone, that we're here, we exist. biologically the odds of that cell, becoming us and us being born and being here on this planet to experience, these are
Yeah.
really big, significant odds and big, significant
Yeah.
occurrences that I think like we're living in this magical place and we forgot it was magic because we got so used to it, right? So for
Yeah.
me, I'm like, if we take it to a divine space, a little bit more, I would say almost, I know this might sound kind of counter, but like practically, like a practical application of your divine space, meaning like day by day, not just on like that worship day or in that worship moment or in that
Yeah.
meditation, but day by day, feeling this isness that's within you. I like to call it the divine self. And I've seen it in metaphysics called the true self, like that essence of who you are. And
Yeah.
that essence, just from the fact that you exist, right, in physical or non-physical form, there's
Yeah.
value there, which means every single one of us, seen and
Yeah.
unseen, and we are of value. And
That's
then I
right.
say, once we know that we have value, then we can decorate that however we want. I used to say, think of yourself as a Christmas tree, right? First, you need to like get your flourishing leaves. You got to be, you just have to be, like feel it and be it. And then you can start decorating it with, your degrees and your grades and your accolades and whatever,
I
because that
love
way,
that.
if you don't make something or you don't get a decoration, you're like, well, I'm still a beautiful tree. Like, whatever,
Yes.
like you still have to have that
Yeah.
ownership of self. But if you're like feeling
Wow.
like a twig and you're trying to throw decorations on it, you're going to feel empty all the
Oh,
time.
I love that. I've never heard that. That's so good. It's such a great visual. Man, that's so good. I know for me, and my husband and I pastor a church here in Miami, and it's something that I walk a lot of women and people through, I think, and I just share what's worked for me. But in moments where I haven't felt so confident and like more of like a twig than a tree, I would just pray this really simple prayer of like, God, let me see myself how you see me.
Yes.
God, like open my eyes to see myself how you see me, because that shift there is
Mm.
like, it unlocks something, and he'll do it, right? Like he'll take pleasure in doing that. It's his honor to do that. Like he will honor a prayer like that.
Like,
And like,
finally, like,
right. Yeah. And the same thing then with my kids too. Like the more I've grown in this personal development space, the more I've become attuned to not tying my kids, praising them and everything to their achievements. And like, I know a spelling test happens on Fridays, but I don't ask about it until like Sunday or Monday. Like I pick them up and I'm like, like, tell me, how was your day? How are your friends? Like, I don't even ask about it, because I don't want that to be the
mm,
focus. I don't want it to be like, oh, mom's going to be in a good mood if I tell her I got an A on my spelling test, or,
yeah.
asking them all the time, like, hey, girl, you know why I love you? And then now it's a game. If you guys listen to the show, you've heard me say this before, but they'll like play it with me now. And they're like, cause I'm cute, whatever. And I'm like, nope, 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 nope.
Yep.
And at the end, I'm just like, cause you're mine. Like,
Yeah,
that's it.
that's
That's
it.
it. That's
You
all you got to do.
exist. You
Just
exist.
show up,
Yeah.
exist.
Oh,
Uh,
that is so beautiful. And thank you for doing that. And I definitely encourage everyone as much as we can to tap into, again, prayer,
yeah.
meditation, that space that helps you to shift your perspective. Because, I was saying this actually recently on another podcast. When we get into the negative space, we narrow our focus, kind of like, back in the day when we were like more primitive, and when like you have to narrow what's chasing me, like what do I, and you have to focus in, and then your adrenaline's going and you're blind to everything else. And so
Yes.
when we're living this life, and stress to me, I swear, is like a predator at this point in life, right? And like
Yeah.
we're the prey and it's attacking, and a lot of times we
Yeah.
narrow our focus on stress. So those other things that we can look at outside of performance, achievement, and whatnot, we're blinded to it. So when
Yeah.
we can take something that helps us to shift and to open that focus, like, God, show me how you see me. Well, I mean, that's a big, broad, wide open, divine shift in focus, right? So whatever
Yeah.
you can do to come out of that narrow focus of just stress and negativity, and open
Yeah.
and expand that view of self, specifically
Yeah.
in a divine space, in a divine way. I mean, there's limitless goodness to be found, and limitless love in every one of your trillion, I repeat, trillions of cells in
Come
your
on.
body, filled with the power of love and light from a higher source. If you tap into just one of those cells, honey, I mean, the day is different. Now tap into all trillion of them to the best of your God-given ability, and life is looking pretty sweet.
Come on. Yeah.
Life is looking pretty sweet. And then you can tie that right back into some scientific stuff, because it's all
Yes.
connected, right?
That's
So now
right.
you are tapped in, you're feeling love, you're feeling your expansive view of yourself. And now
Yes.
there's a field around your body, the
Yes.
electromagnetic field, physically measurable field around your body that now expands. And that
Yep.
expands in such a way that you even more connected to the kind of the cosmos, to the
Yeah.
unknown and the unseen. And this is where you're really tapped in. And now you're like a magnet. And not only
Yeah.
a magnet from a magical, oh, things are just dropping on my desk, but magnet from now for the perspective of I am open and available
Mm.
and pulling things in that I can now see. That phone call that came
Mm.
in when I was mad. So I was like, I can't talk right now. I'll talk to you later. Now I'm more open. And that phone call is, oh my gosh, I should tell her about my idea. And all of a sudden that idea becomes a meeting. And now that becomes, oh, you know what I mean? Like the
Yeah.
opportunity is there when we're tapped in, and to find that beautiful space and to teach it to our
Yeah.
kids and to have the languaging and a go-to prayer is
Yeah.
just the simple, not always easy. I'm not going to tell you it's always easy, but they are truly simple, tiny little
Yes.
millimeter shifts that we can
Yes.
incorporate in our lives. And to be honest, I have seen shifts happen in an hour. I'm
Yeah.
not going to lie to you. I'm
Yes.
also not going to downplay that it can happen fast. I've
Yeah.
had women shift
Mhm.
their mindset in 1 hour and call me back.
Yeah.
I'm like, what did you do to me? My husband and I joked that I was going to make a poster that said, what do you do to me? And every time someone asks me, I'm going to make them sign that, plus sign a disclaimer saying, can you please absolve me of any, whatever you're accusing me of, because what did you do to me does not sound good. But they're like, no, but I feel better. And they're like angry and weird and what, like not angry, but they're like taken aback. Like, why did I
Yes.
feel better? Like it happened
Yeah.
too fast. I had a father had his son come to me. This is a longer story, so I know we're kind of running out of time, so I won't give you the details. But he, the kid came to me for it was maybe a 2-hour session that day, I don't remember clearly, but he literally left the session asking for food he'd never asked for before, just talking in a different way. And so the father comes in, he's like, hey buddy, can you step outside for a second? And so and I'm like, why does he need to be alone with me? What's going on? And he goes, so what did you do? And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, what did you do to my kid? I'm like, should we get somebody else in here? Like, what's going on? He's like, that kid has not asked for this food. This kid has not said this to me in over 6 months. How did you
Wow.
do that? And I'm like, let's just go home tonight, okay? And you tell me if everything is still, and then we'll double back tomorrow and we'll check it.
Yeah.
He checks in with me the next day, and about a week later, 2 weeks later, he's like, I'm bringing him back. I'm like, okay, no problem. Sometimes these things take time. He goes, it's not that. I go, what do you mean? He's like, it's still working. Like, but it happened too fast. I'm bringing him back. I'm like, for what do you want me to do with the kids? And like, but we're
Wow.
so programmed that like things can't happen fast. Things got to be difficult. They've got to be tedious and arduous. And it's just not true. We can
Not
absorb
true.
ourselves in ways that are so divine that healing
Yes.
and different things happen very quickly. And we can also dedicate ourselves to repetition and consistency, and also watch it
Yeah.
happen slowly. All of them are valuable and wonderful and lead to the
Yes.
outcome that we want. So
Yes,
yeah.
yes. I time and time and time again, I see God work slow fast. I always
Oh
say
yeah.
that. I'm like, it feels so slow, and then like, it just happens so fast. I'm like,
Writing
whoa.
that down. Writing
It's
that
just
down. Literally, watch me quote you in like the next 2 weeks. Like, so I heard from the great Michelle Grosjean. No, I like this. Oh,
it
okay.
is.
That is so good.
And all of that, and when we are claiming that power that you're talking about, holy moly, is life a lot more fun, right?
It is. It is. It's actually. I see. I don't have words. I'm like, it's blah blah blah. Like, it does. It's breathtaking. It's breath giving. It's life
Yeah.
giving. It's. You feel like you've entered another world,
Yeah.
and then when you're truly here in a space of love, you only want to share it. This is not a place of power where this is mine and I uncovered it and it's my secret and I only want it. When it's a genuine divinity is, it's omnipresent. Spirituality is
Yeah.
everywhere, every day, for everyone, all knowing, all seeing. So if you're truly in that space, you are going to do like God does and want to spread that baby everywhere. So that's
Yeah.
how you know you don't have to be worried about, am I being arrogant now? Like, is my life
Yeah.
too great now? Is the other shoe going to drop now? Like, are people going to hate me now? It's like, don't worry about any of that. If you are doing this in a space that comes from love, whatever that higher power of love looks like for you, love
Yeah.
can spread and love can heal. And love is not just to be kept for oneself. It comes from in you. So your duty, if you want to spread more love to your children, if you want to spread more love to your coworkers, your family, your friends, your spouses, the duty starts within you to raise that sense of self within yourself, open yourself to whatever that divine and spiritual space is, and let it
Yeah.
flow in, let
Yeah.
it literally dominate your experience. And you will see that everything around you shifts like an echo. It just like flows through the entire world that you live in. And you start like, where am I? Right? Like someone asked me the other day, like, don't you hate it when you have a great idea and you share it with someone and they knock it down? I'm like, that doesn't happen in my circle. I don't I'm not saying, I'm sorry. Yes, I live in the real world and I'm not being fake. I'm just telling you, I'm not around those people because I'm
Yeah.
just not going to be around people. Like when I say like, oh, I'm going to
Yeah.
write 15 books this year. I need someone to be like, girl,
Yeah.
do you need printer ink? Like, what do you need? Like, what should I bring you? Do you need coffee? Like, I need someone who, like, and that's who I'm surrounded by right now. Or people who
Yes.
will be
Yes.
like
Yes. Yes.
15. I thought you were going to do 20. I'm like, like, that's who's in my circle because that's
Yes.
what
It's
I've
that
allowed,
powerful.
to
Yeah.
radiate. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now you're in my circle
Woo.
too, Michelle. So I've got another
Oh my gosh, this has been like one of my favorite conversations. Thank you so
one.
much
You're
for
so
being
welcome.
with us.
Of
Thank you
course.
for the energy that you bring. I am cheering that you do reach world domination because we need more of you. So I am so in your corner and behind the work that you're doing. And for the people listening who are, fired up as I'm feeling right now, where can they get more of you and all of the goodness that you're spreading?
Oh, okay. So the first thing I want to give you is actually a gift that it's been put on my heart to give to the world. So I have an academy, an online academy where I've got courses and classes and all the things. And a big part of it is this free library. So you can literally just
Mm.
log on into the free library and start getting resources and
Amazing.
studies and videos and books and recommendations and things that I just love that feel like they help me to immerse into this world of just really feeling good and having the tools and the resources to continue to feel good and to spread it. So
Amazing.
that is my gift to you. That is at my academy. And you can get there by going to theselfesteemdoctor.com. That's my main website, but you can go out to everything from there. So the Self-Esteem Doctor, all spelled out, THE, and then doctors all the way spelled out, .com.
Okay.
And then also on Instagram, the Self-Esteem Doctor, which what I will occasionally remind you of the things that I have for you on the Self-Esteem Doctor. I will also give you some humor. I will also tell you that it's my birthday month next month and I go crazy for the whole month. So like you're going to get everything. So follow me on the Self-Esteem Doctor on Instagram. And that's where we can share some beautiful loving times together.
Oh, yes. All right. We'll link that for all you guys in the show notes. But thanks again. Thanks for being here. Thanks for dropping your wisdom on us, teaching us, encouraging us, inspiring us. I don't know. I'm fired up. I'm ready for the rest of my day. So thank you. Thank you.
I
Thank you for
love
being
it.
here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Thank you for your questions, the love in your questions, the intentionality, and of course for even creating this
Mm,
platform for everyone to learn from and for you to bring all the knowledge. I've been listening
mm,
to you and I'm like, oh my gosh, like yes, I get to be on this podcast. Like yes, thank you God. So I appreciate everything you're doing and all the listeners who show up to share this knowledge and receive it.
mm,
So thank you all. Thank you, Michelle.
my pleasure.